So how can we create more energy in our bodies? How can we lift our vitality up? That is actually a question that's not only good for gallstone flushers, gallstone warriors on the way to flush, as I say today. That's important for everybody, because one of the 4 basic issues or needs, both by the way, that our body needs in order to be healthy is vitality. The other 3, by the way, are nutrition on all the different levels, toxicity removal on all the different levels, motion, These are the 4 big, prerequisites for health, I guess I would call them. And building up vitality is actually a very, very important tool for all-round health and dealing with any disease you cope with. So how do we bring up the vitality? Well, the first thing to deal with is the holes in the bucket. If we want to fill the bucket with energy, metaphorically, we want to make sure there are no holes, because otherwise you can fill it till tomorrow and it just pours out. And the big holes are emotional, issues that are not being dealt with in a healthy way. And terrible habits like bad food or, very late night sleep, very short night sleep. These are big holes in the bucket. It literally leaves you drained instead of, nourished. So what do? Well, we make sure we get our 8-hour night sleep. Kind of funny. Okay, 8 hours sleep. That's not a metaphor. That's a real number. And you want it somewhere around the 8 hours, because you actually want it net hours of sleep, which is not quite the same as how many hours pass between the moment you closed your eyes and the moment you open them in the morning. Okay, but a good 8 hours sleep. Sometimes people need 8.5 or even 9 hours. Some people can manage with 7.5 hours. But if you want to build your vitality, you obviously don't want to test your limits on the low side. You want at least 8 good hours of sleep, and it's very important to do so starting early enough at night. You don't want to start at midnight and wake up at 8. It just isn't quite the same as going to sleep at 10 o'clock at night and waking up at 6. Okay? If you try it out a few times, you'll see for yourself. It's very, very, very clear that the body has, preferences. It wants the specific hours. So you want to make sure you have a good night's sleep. You also want good quality sleep, but that's a whole new video. So we'll go into that sometime. But the most important factor here is the number and the quality in general. The second thing you want to do if you really want to raise your vitality is to breathe better. Okay, and it sounds weird to tell people to breathe because, hey, we're alive. Doesn't that mean we're breathing? And the answer is yes, but are you breathing enough? Are you breathing good enough? Do you remember to breathe throughout the day? How many times during this day have you forgotten to breathe and suddenly felt the need to take a deep breath for some weird reason? Okay, this is a project, not just another movie. I'll be making lots of videos about breathing because that's really, really important for health. But just understanding the fact that you may need to breathe more if you want to be more vital is a super, super practical piece of knowledge. Okay? Drinking enough. It's not just because you want to dilute your bile and reduce the stone formation. Drinking enough is crucial for every cell in your body to be able to function, including creating energy. We have those mitochondria in each cell that create energy using sugars, etc. I'm sure you've heard about that. Without water, nothing works in our body. We are 60 to 70% liquids inside. If we don't drink enough, we don't function. It's like liquids inside a battery. Without them, the battery doesn't function, right? Well, we are one big battery. So make sure you drink enough. I've already discussed that plenty in previous videos, so go ahead and check that out. There's several videos discussing this subject. So apart from that, you want to charge up in the sun. You don't want to burn in the sun, but you definitely want to see the sun daily, preferably mornings and afternoons and not peak sun time. But you want to actually absorb that sun. We are not leaves. You know, we're not trees. We don't do, photosynthesis. But in a way, we do know how to absorb the sun. I mean, vitamin D doesn't get formed without sunlight. So we do need that sun in a direct form that's absorbed through the skin to give us the ability to be alive. So make sure you take the time to be in the sun. Use it to exercise while you're at it too. But make sure you have sunshine that really charges up. Just like being out in nature once in a while does a miraculous effect on most people. It uplifts their soul. It gives you good feelings inside, and it gives you a lot more energy. So yeah, make sure you see some green, especially if you're in a big city. It tends to be like only in the small parks here and there. You want to make sure you're out there. You want to make sure you see some green. It's not as acute as seeing the sun itself or sleeping or breathing, but it is part of our humanity, you know. So if I wrap it all up, if you want to raise your vitality, there's only one more factor that we need to talk about, right? And that's food. If you eat nourishing foods, you'll probably get more energy out of them. And if you eat low energy foods, low energy as in dead, hyper-industrialized foods that went through way too many processes before they became food, that's not going to really vitalize you. You know, so having fresh fruits and vegetables, having high quality whole grains, legumes, all the other foods as well, but from high quality organic sources. All this together is what builds our body. It also builds our routine, our energy. So make sure you have good foods. And one last, not a very minor aspect, again, the basis for a whole series of videos, make sure you're supplemented. Okay, that sounds like oxymoronic to say supplements and holistic health to some people. I know, because it's not the natural way of things. You're not supposed to be picking up supplements from a tree or a bush. You know, usually that comes in form of food. But the reality is that with today's toxicity, stress levels, and I don't know, the basic quality of even of our food, even the organic food, very often we don't get enough from our food. We just don't get enough, no matter how well invested we are in it. Believe me, I eat the best food I know, and I cherry pick it. And a lot of times I go straight to farmers and actually, collect straight from the field, so to speak. I get the freshest produce. But when I check my system, believe me, I know how to check my system, I very often find myself deficient despite all that. And when you don't have enough vitamins and minerals in your system, well, you won't be vital. I've seen thousands of cases already where, that little addition here or there where their body was screaming, I'm missing this, give me that. When I gave them that, and I'm not talking specifically, I'm talking very much in general on purpose right now, that little change here or there made a huge, huge difference on the vitality level, functionality level, digestive level, mental level, how concentrated you are, how well you remember. Everything depends on those little ingredients that may not be able to replace the foods we eat. Definitely can't trust that as a source of, basic sustenance. But it can make a huge difference as to how well you're living. So I know it requires a little open mind for that, because we're really not into, popping pills as a way of life, as a society of, wholesome people. But until we can actually change the soil to the point where the food grows much more nutritious, and until we can actually grow in our own garden everything we need, so that it's actually fresh right from the bush or tree, not, like days to weeks to months later, we're going to be dependent on those supplements. They're going to make a big difference. So to cap it all up, you want to sleep well, breathe well, drink enough, eat well, and supplement if you really want to be energetic. And I've seen changes. I mean, people come to me the first time, I take the pulse, and it's like, if I take it on a scale of 1 to 10, their spleen is like 1, sometimes -1. It feels like they're walking dead. And just to change their breathing habits alone, just that alone can sometimes make it bounce from 1 to 3 or to 5 or even to 6 at times. And just, for the perspective, on my scale, 5 means you can handle the flush. 5 out of 10 means you can handle the flush. So that change can sometimes be only by changing your breathing. But of course, if you also change your sleeping habits, if you drink enough, eat quality foods, and take the right supplements that your body is saying, I'm missing those, believe me, you will feel the change so obviously, so clearly, that it will never be a question again. It'll be a wow, that makes a difference in my life. That makes a huge difference. So if you want more information, especially about all these videos coming up, about supplements and about breathing and all the other subjects I talked today, well, don't forget to sign up to the channel. Ring that bell so you get all the reminders when I send out those videos. And I will see you on the next one.